Have you ever noticed how life seems to get heavier the more you try to control it? The harder you push, the tighter you grip, the further peace seems to slip from your hands. It's like trying to hold water. The more you squeeze, the less remains. Yet when you open your palm, the water stays, cool and gentle, resting naturally where it belongs. We've been taught to chase everything: success, happiness, love, meaning. From childhood, we're told that to live well, we must fight, plan, and force. We grow into adults who wake each morning already at war with life itself, trying to fix, improve, and master every detail. But what if the secret to living wasn't about fighting at all? What if letting go was the most powerful act of all? Imagine this: a cat chasing its own tail, spinning faster and faster, believing that just one more turn will bring success. And then suddenly, it stops. It sits down, takes a breath, and finds the tail resting peacefully beside it. That moment, the moment the chase ends, is the moment peace begins. This is what we forget. Life was never meant to be a struggle against itself. It moves like a river, like wind through trees, like breath entering and leaving without effort. When we stop forcing, we rediscover what was always waiting underneath our effort. A calm so deep it doesn't depend on outcomes. This journey is not about giving up. It's about surrendering the illusion that you must make everything happen through will alone. It's about remembering that you are already part of a living rhythm far wiser than your plans. So take a breath, loosen your grip, stop chasing what's already within you. What if everything you've been trying so hard to find, peace, love, clarity, freedom, has been here all along, waiting for you to stop forcing and simply allow it to unfold? Welcome to Whispers of Being. This is your invitation to discover the power of surrender, to see how letting go unlocks the life you were always meant to live. We spend our lives chasing happiness, success, peace, and love, spinning ourselves into exhaustion in the effort. We push, we plan, we strive, believing that if we just do more, try more, want more, we'll finally arrive at a life that feels complete. Yet, just like the cat, we never notice that what we're searching for has been beside us the entire time. From the moment we are children, we are told that life is a battle to be won. We must fight for our place, struggle against circumstances, and control everything around us to feel safe. We learn that effort equals worth, and that to stop striving is to fail. This belief becomes so deeply rooted that even rest feels guilty, even peace feels undeserved. But what if that belief, the one that says we must control life, is the very thing keeping us from truly living it? Consider breathing for a moment. Right now, your lungs are filling and emptying effortlessly. You are not forcing each inhale, not managing every exhale. Life is happening through you. But imagine if you suddenly decided that you must control your breathing completely, that every breath had to be timed perfectly, each inhale measured, every exhale planned. Within seconds, you would become anxious and tight. And the very act of control would break the natural rhythm that was already working perfectly. This is what most of us do with our entire lives. We take what should be as natural as breathing and turn it into a struggle. We force our relationships, demanding they become what we imagine. We force our careers, pushing so hard that we forget why we began. We even force happiness, chasing pleasures and avoiding pains until we are drained of joy itself. There's a deep irony in this. The more we fight for peace, the more restless we become. The more we chase success, the more failure we feel. We tell ourselves that we'll relax once everything is under control, but that moment never comes. Control, after all, is an illusion, a story the mind tells to feel safe in a world it cannot predict. Psychologists have long noted that the human brain equates control with safety. Deep in our ancient wiring, in the limbic system that governs fear and survival, there's a message: uncertainty equals danger. So we grasp at certainty, even when it hurts us. We try to force the unknown into familiar shapes. We build walls, routines, and plans, not because they guarantee happiness, but because they numb the fear of not knowing what comes next. Yet, True safety never comes from control. It comes from trust, from learning to move with life instead of against it. There's a concept in Taoist philosophy called Wu Wei. It means action without forcing. It's not passivity or laziness, but a kind of effortless alignment with the natural flow of things. Imagine water flowing through a landscape. It doesn't fight the rocks in its way, it flows around them. It accepts the path that exists, and in time, its gentle persistence shapes even the hardest stone. Life, too, is like this. When you stop fighting what is, you begin to notice paths that were invisible while you were struggling. Possibilities open that effort alone could never create. I once knew a man who tried for years to force his way to happiness. He worked 16-hour days, convinced that if he just earned enough money, bought the right house, and found the perfect partner, he would finally be content. He planned every detail, scheduled every moment, and tried to control every outcome. But the harder he worked, the emptier he felt. One afternoon, after a particularly brutal week, he sat by a river. He didn't go there to meditate or reflect. He simply had no strength left to continue. He sat silently, watching the water move. For the first time in years, he wasn't doing anything. And something unexpected happened. The longer he sat, the lighter he felt. His mind, usually racing with plans and fears, grew quiet. In that stillness, a peace emerged. A peace that had nothing to do with money or success or perfection. It was simply there, waiting beneath all the noise. That man told me later that this moment changed his life. He realized that happiness was never something to be achieved. It was something to be remembered. Something always present, hidden only by the struggle to find it. In many ways, we are all sitting by our own rivers, though most of us are too busy to notice the water flowing beside us. We are caught in what I call the cycle of striving, the endless chase for better. Better jobs, better relationships, better versions of ourselves. But beneath this chase lies a quiet longing, not for improvement, but for peace. The peace that comes when we stop needing life to be anything other than what it is. Let me offer a simple reflection exercise from Whispers of Being. Close your eyes and take a slow, natural breath. Notice how it moves through you without your command. Feel how life continues even without your control. The world breathes with you. The wind through trees, the rhythm of waves, the beat of your heart. Now ask yourself, what if this same intelligence is guiding everything else? What if the same rhythm that keeps you alive is also guiding your path, your timing, your growth? When you begin to see this, something inside you softens. You start to realize that life doesn't need your constant supervision to work. It's already working. The sun rises without your effort. The heart beats without your permission. Flowers bloom without your schedule. The art of surrender begins here, not in giving up, but in remembering that you are part of something far greater than your plans. To surrender is to step out of the illusion that you are separate from life. It's to understand that you are not the one making the river flow. You are the river. When the cat stops chasing its tail, it doesn't lose anything. It gains everything. The tail was never gone. It was only hidden by motion. The same is true for you. The peace you're chasing has never been lost. It's only been obscured by the noise of your trying. So the question becomes, what would happen if you stopped chasing? What if, just for a moment, you stopped trying to fix, to prove, to force, and simply allowed yourself to be? In that stillness, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel the quiet pulse of life moving through you. You start to see that nothing was ever missing. You realize that the very effort to become whole was the only thing keeping you from noticing that you already are. This is the beginning of surrender. Not a retreat from life, but a return to it. Not the end of effort, but the end of struggle. A shift from doing to being, from control to trust. And as we move forward deeper into this journey together, we'll explore what it really means to live this way. To act without forcing, to flow without fear, to discover that the power you've been searching for has always been within you, quietly waiting for you to let go. This is where we begin, by sitting down beside the river of life, unclenching our fists, and realizing that everything we were chasing is already here, waiting to be seen. Welcome to surrender. Welcome to remembering. Welcome home. In the quiet space that follows surrender, something subtle begins to shift. You start to notice that life doesn't actually need your constant interference to move forward. It has a rhythm, a pulse, an intelligence all its own. Just as the river finds its way to the ocean without a map, life too knows how to carry you where you need to go, if you allow it. The Taoists call this Wu Wei, the art of effortless action, or doing without forcing. It does not mean sitting idle or giving up responsibility. Instead, it points to a way of living where your actions arise naturally from the flow of life, not from the tension of control. Think again of water. It never resists what is before it. When it meets a rock, it doesn't try to destroy the obstacle. It simply moves around it. Yet over time, that same soft water can carve through mountains. This is the paradox of surrender, gentleness that holds immense power. I once met a man who embodied this wisdom without even realizing it. He had spent years climbing the corporate ladder, working late, chasing promotions, convinced that he could build happiness through effort. But life kept throwing obstacles in his path. Layoffs, failed relationships, a persistent sense of emptiness. Finally, when he could push no more, he took a break. He went to a small village by the sea and spent his days walking along the shore. He didn't meditate, didn't try to find himself. He simply allowed himself to be. And one morning, while watching the waves roll in, he felt a quiet knowing rise within him, a clarity that could not be forced. It was as if life whispered, "Stop chasing what is already flowing through you." He realized that he had mistaken struggle for purpose, control for direction. From that day forward, he lived differently. He still worked, but his actions came from calm presence, not fear. Things began to align naturally. New opportunities, healthier relationships, even a deeper joy in ordinary moments. What changed? Nothing external at first, only his relationship with effort. He began to trust the current. This is the essence of Wu Wei. When you stop forcing, you don't stop doing. You start doing with harmony. Your energy is no longer wasted on resistance. You become like the archer who draws the bow with precision, but releases at the perfect moment. No tension, no strain, only presence. The arrow flies true, not because of force, but because everything is aligned. The body, the breath, the awareness, the timing. I remember a conversation with an old friend who practiced martial arts. He told me, "The strongest fighter is not the one who strikes first, but the one who feels the rhythm of the fight." That rhythm, that awareness of timing, is the heart of non-forcing action. It's not passivity, it's mastery. It's the ability to move in sync with life instead of colliding with it. So how can you tell when you are in flow and when you are forcing? The body always knows. Forcing feels like tightness, a knot in the chest, a clenched jaw, a mind full of noise. Flow feels like openness, an effortless awareness where actions seem to happen through you rather than by you. It's the difference between swimming upstream and being carried by the current. Let me share the story of Sierra, a painter who learned this lesson in her art. For years, she tried to force greatness. She would sit for hours in front of her canvas, battling perfection, measuring every line, judging every stroke. Her paintings looked polished but lifeless. One afternoon, in frustration, she threw down her brush and walked away. For weeks, she didn't paint at all. She cooked, gardened, watched the light move across her walls. Then one day, without planning, she picked up a pencil and began to sketch. A leaf, a shadow, her own hand holding a cup of tea. There was no goal, no pressure, only curiosity. Something changed. The sketches had life, warmth, breath. They felt alive. When she returned to painting, she no longer tried to control the outcome. She allowed the colors to lead her. And paradoxically, it was then, when she stopped trying to make great art, that her paintings finally became great. This is the mystery of letting go. When you stop trying to be someone, you become yourself. When you stop striving to be happy, you realize happiness was never missing. To live in flow means to move from resistance to receptivity. But let's be honest, this is not easy. Our world celebrates force. We are rewarded for pushing harder, for hustle, for staying in control. We are told that surrender is weakness, that letting go means giving up. But true surrender is not collapse, it is clarity. It's seeing that you can't control the waves, but you can learn to surf. There is a quiet strength that arises when you no longer need to prove yourself through struggle. It's the strength of a tree bending with the wind instead of breaking against it. It's the calm of the musician who plays not to impress but to express. It's the ease of the dancer who stops counting steps and lets the music move through them. From whispers of being, here is a reflection practice you can try. Take a moment to recall a situation where you've been forcing, perhaps a goal, a relationship, or a personal habit. Now ask yourself gently, what would this look like if I stopped forcing it? Imagine loosening your grip just a little. Imagine trusting that what needs to unfold will unfold. Notice how your body feels when you consider this possibility. Softer, lighter, more alive. This is how the practice begins, with awareness. Once you can recognize the tension of forcing, you can choose to release it. The poet Rilke once wrote, "Let everything happen to you. Beauty and terror, just keep going. No feeling is final." This is the voice of surrender, the knowing that life is not something to conquer, but to experience. You are not here to perfect every detail. You are here to witness the unfolding of something far greater than your plans. A story comes to mind about a startup founder I once coached. She had built her company from nothing, fueled entirely by drive and sleepless nights. Yet, despite her success, she was constantly anxious, convinced that if she relaxed, everything would fall apart. One day, after a long conversation, she agreed to take a week off. No emails, no calls, no control. When she returned, she found that her team had handled everything beautifully. In fact, they had solved problems she had been overthinking for months. She realized then that her constant forcing was not protecting her work, it was stifling it. The company began to flourish when she trusted the people and processes she had already built. This is what happens when we release control. Space opens for life to move. What we once held so tightly begins to breathe again. To not force is not to withdraw from life, but to participate in it more fully. When you stop being obsessed with outcomes, you can finally enjoy the process. When you stop fearing imperfection, creativity returns. When you stop trying to make people love you, genuine connection becomes possible. Imagine life as a dance. When you try to lead every step, the movement becomes mechanical. But when you trust the rhythm, when you allow yourself to be led by the music, something beautiful happens. You become the dance itself. The same is true of existence. Life is the rhythm. You are the dancer. And surrender is the moment you stop counting and start feeling. In the next part of our journey, we will explore how this wisdom unfolds in our daily lives, in relationships, in work, in love. We'll see how surrender transforms not only what we do, but how we are. Because when we stop forcing, life doesn't stop, it begins. This is the promise of the flow, that the universe is already moving toward harmony. All it needs is for you to stop fighting the current and remember that you too are made of the same water that flows through everything. Once you begin to understand the wisdom of flow, you start to see how much of life's suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from our attempts to control it. Nowhere is this more evident than in our relationships, our work, and the expectations we place upon ourselves. We often force what was meant to unfold. We try to make people behave as we think they should. We try to make love look the way we've been told it should look. We try to push our careers toward goals that once inspired us, but now only exhaust us. In every corner of our lives, we build cages out of should, must, and have to. Yet the heart, by its very nature, was never meant to live in cages. Take relationships, for instance. Many of us love through control. We call it care, But beneath that care is fear. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of being unseen. So we cling, we demand, we shape the other person to fit our idea of love. But love that must be forced isn't love at all. It's insecurity wearing the mask of devotion. Real love breathes. It allows both people to grow, to change, to be fully themselves. I once spoke to a father who was at war with his teenage son. The boy had become rebellious, poor grades, late nights, defiant words. The father, desperate to bring him back on track, tried everything. Punishments, lectures, strict rules. The harder he pushed, the further the boy drifted away. One evening, exhausted and heartbroken, the father decided to stop forcing. He sat with his son in silence. For the first time, instead of lecturing, he listened. Instead of demanding change, he simply offered presence. What happened next wasn't dramatic. There were no tears, no sudden confessions, just a quiet softening between them. Over time, the boy began to open up. The more the father trusted, the more the son responded. The rebellion was never about hatred. It was about the boy's need for space to become himself. When the father released control, real connection began. This is the paradox of effort. The harder we try to hold something, the more it slips away. But when we relax our grip, what is real has the freedom to stay. The same truth applies to work. In a culture that glorifies productivity, we are told that rest is laziness, that slowing down is failure. We measure our worth in hours worked and goals achieved. But work done from force is dry, mechanical, draining. Work done from flow is creative, joyful, alive. There was once a woman who worked in design. She loved her craft, but hated the constant deadlines. She forced inspiration like a factory machine, producing art without feeling. One day, burned out, she decided to take a weekend off. No screens, no plans. She spent her time gardening, cooking, simply being. On the third morning, while watering her plants, an idea arrived, clear and effortless. She rushed inside to sketch it out, and that idea became her most successful project yet. When we allow ourselves to pause, inspiration returns. The mind cannot create in captivity. It needs stillness, space for the whisper of new ideas to be heard. Our modern world has mistaken pressure for passion. But true passion doesn't arise from strain, it arises from alignment. It's what happens when your actions match your inner rhythm. When what you do flows naturally from who you are, work becomes an expression of being, not a battlefield of striving. And yet, even when we understand this, we still fear letting go. We fear that if we stop pushing, everything will collapse. This is the mind's greatest illusion, that control equals safety. But life has a strange intelligence. When we stop trying to force outcomes, things often fall into place in ways we couldn't have planned. There's an old Taoist story about a man who lost his horse. His neighbors came to comfort him, saying, "What bad luck?" The man replied, "Maybe." A few days later, the horse returned, bringing several wild horses with it. The neighbors exclaimed, "What good fortune!" Again, the man said, "Maybe." Soon after, his son broke his leg while trying to tame one of the wild horses. "How terrible," they said. Again, "Maybe," he answered. Not long after, war broke out, and every able-bodied young man was taken to fight, except his son, who was spared because of his injury. The point is not that we should detach from life or pretend not to care. It's that we can never truly see the whole picture from where we stand. What appears as failure may be protection. What looks like loss may be transformation. When we force meaning too soon, we blind ourselves to the intelligence unfolding behind events. Non-forcing, therefore, is not indifference. It's deeper care. It's choosing to love reality as it is, not as we demand it to be. It's giving our full attention to this moment, without insisting that it deliver what we expect. This kind of care requires courage. It's easy to cling, it's harder to trust. It's easy to fight, it's harder to surrender. Yet every great love, every great creation, every great act of wisdom arises from surrender. A parent who truly loves their child learns to step back, trusting the child's own path. A leader who truly trusts their team empowers instead of micromanaging. An artist who truly honors their muse learns when to work and when to wait. Surrender, in all these cases, is not weakness, it's maturity. In one of the sessions shared on Whispers of Being, we often guide listeners into what we call the pause between breaths. It's the silent space after you exhale and before you inhale again. In that small pause, there is no effort, only stillness. Life continues, yet you do nothing. This is the essence of surrender. You do not abandon life. You allow it to carry you. Try it now. Take a slow breath in and then release it completely. At the bottom of that breath, before the next one comes, linger for a moment. Feel the quiet. Feel the simplicity of being alive without doing. That is what non-forcing feels like. Complete participation in life, yet no resistance. Imagine what your relationships would feel like if you lived this way, if you listened instead of demanded, trusted instead of controlled. Imagine your work if every action came from genuine inspiration rather than pressure. Imagine your heart if it no longer needed to prove its worth through effort. This is not fantasy. This is what happens when you remember that you are part of something larger, the same rhythm that moves the tides and grows the trees. It is the same rhythm that beats within you. So as you move through your days, notice where you are forcing. Notice where you are tightening, pushing, striving. And then ask softly, what if I didn't? What if for once you let go and trusted the intelligence that has been guiding you since the first breath you ever took? The art of surrender in relationships and work is not about doing less. It's about being more alive in what you do. It's not about escaping responsibility. It's about aligning with reality. For when you stop forcing, life begins to cooperate with you. Love deepens, creativity expands, and even effort becomes effortless. In the next and final part, we'll explore how to live this wisdom daily, how surrender can become not just a moment of insight, but a way of being. Because when you truly understand the paradox of effort, you realize that the most powerful way to shape life is to stop trying to shape it at all. Instead, you let it shape you. And in that gentle shaping, you discover the peace that has always been waiting beneath your striving, quiet, complete, and entirely your own. As the journey deepens, surrender begins to reveal itself not as an idea, but as a way of living. It's no longer something you practice occasionally when life feels heavy. It becomes the quiet foundation beneath every breath, every action, every moment. You start to see that letting go isn't a single act. It's a rhythm, a partnership with life itself. This final step of surrender is where peace and purpose finally meet. You stop chasing the life you think you're supposed to live and begin living the one that is unfolding right now. This is where the truth of your being finally comes home. There was once a woman who dreamed from childhood of becoming a doctor. She worked hard, studied tirelessly, did everything right, but when the time came, she wasn't accepted into medical school. She was devastated. All her plans, all her effort, gone. For a time, she felt lost, convinced that life had betrayed her. But after the grief passed, she began to ask a new question. What else wants to happen now? She went on to study nursing instead, eventually becoming a nurse practitioner and opening a small community clinic. Years later, she looked back and realized that she had helped far more people than she might have as a doctor. Her dream had come true, just not in the form she had forced. This is the wisdom of surrender. Life knows better than our plans ever could. We resist this truth because we fear losing control. We believe that if we stop forcing, we'll fall behind, become lazy, or fade into nothing. But in truth, surrender doesn't make you smaller. It makes you vast. It connects you to the intelligence that moves stars and tides, the same intelligence that grows trees and heals wounds. You begin to see that your personal will is not the only force shaping your life. There is something larger, something alive, guiding each step. When you stop trying to control life, you discover that life has been carrying you all along. There's a story from Whispers of Being about the writer who sat for days at his desk, forcing words that refused to come. He grew frustrated, angry, convinced that effort alone could produce art. Finally, defeated, He left the desk and walked along the shore. He watched the waves crash and retreat, breathing in their rhythm. He stopped thinking about the words. He stopped trying to control the outcome. And then, quietly, the words began to arrive, not from thought, but from stillness. When he returned to his desk, the writing flowed effortlessly, as if it had been waiting for him to stop blocking it. What he discovered was not a secret of writing, but a secret of life. Inspiration, healing, and transformation come when you create space for them to emerge. A gardener doesn't force a flower to bloom. They prepare the soil, water it, give it light, and trust. The bloom happens by itself. Living in surrender is like becoming that gardener. Attentive, devoted, patient, and trusting. You still show up, you still care. But you no longer confuse effort with control. You cultivate conditions for growth and let life take care of the timing. You might wonder, how does this look in daily life? How do we live surrender in a world built on speed, achievement, and control? It begins with small things. Notice when you're rushing. The body tenses, the mind races. Pause for a single breath. Remind yourself that you don't need to arrive anywhere faster than the present moment. Notice when you're anxious about outcomes, about a job, a project, a conversation. Ask yourself, what part of this can I truly control? Do that, and release the rest. Notice when you're judging yourself harshly. Remind yourself that growth is not a straight line. Some seasons are for blooming, others are for resting. Both are necessary. Try this simple practice. Before making a big decision, sit quietly and ask, what feels forced and what feels natural? The answer that carries peace, even quiet peace, is usually the one aligned with flow. There is another exercise we often share in Whispers of Being, called the breath of trust. It is as simple as it sounds. You inhale, imagining life entering through you. You exhale, imagining releasing all control. With each breath, you remind yourself that you are being breathed, that the same power keeping the universe in motion is the one moving through you right now. Living this way transforms how you see everything, even hardship. Surrender doesn't mean you will never face difficulty. It means you will no longer face it alone. When challenges come, you meet them not with panic, but with presence. You trust that there is meaning even in the unknown, that every obstacle carries its own lesson of becoming. Sometimes surrender looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like courage. Sometimes it looks like rest. But always it feels like truth. There's a moment, often after long struggle, when the heart simply sighs and says, enough. Not in defeat, but in recognition. It's the moment the river stops trying to be the mountain and remembers it was always meant to flow. That is the beginning of wisdom. In that space, you realize that you were never broken. There was never anything wrong with you that needed fixing. The striving, the forcing, the self-improvement, all of it was just the mind's way of forgetting its own completeness. When you surrender, you return to that original wholeness. You stop chasing peace and begin living as peace. You stop chasing love and start radiating it. You stop chasing purpose and discover that your very existence is purpose itself. And what about the fear that surrender will make you weak? Look around. The softest things in nature, water, air, light, are also the most powerful. They shape worlds not through struggle, but through persistence and flow. Your softness is not your weakness. It is your strength, the proof that you belong to this living dance of creation. As you practice this art, something remarkable happens. You start to see the sacred in everything. A traffic delay becomes a moment to breathe. A difficult conversation becomes a mirror for self-understanding. A failure becomes a doorway to wisdom. Life stops being a series of problems to solve and becomes a vast unfolding to witness. In surrender, gratitude blooms naturally. When you no longer force the world to match your expectations, you begin to see how much beauty was always here. The sound of rain, the warmth of a friend's laugh, the quiet miracle of waking up, all of it feels like grace. And so, as this journey closes, remember this: surrender is not the end of effort, but the end of struggle. It is the return to naturalness, the rhythm you were born with before fear taught you to resist. It is the discovery that the very thing you were chasing, peace, love, fulfillment, has been here all along, waiting for you to stop and notice. The cat has stopped chasing its tail. It sits quietly now, whole and complete, no longer needing to catch what was never separate from itself. And you are that cat. You are that river. You are that breath. Everything you have been searching for is already here, inside the stillness of this moment. So stop forcing, stop striving, sit down in the center of your life and listen. The world is whispering to you, softly but clearly. Trust me, flow with me. Everything you seek is already yours. This is the power of surrender. This is the freedom of letting go. This is the life you were always meant to live.